I go to bed at night watching TikTok videos. I'll watch 100 of them before I finally fall asleep. And, they lead me to mostly First Amendment auditors who I just love. I just love them. And conservative YouTubers who will go out on the street and say, what's the best country in the world? And, do you believe the United States is the best country in the world? And they say, I would like to live in Denmark. Or this is the best country on earth. Period. I've been to 72 countries. I'm going to add another 5 more by the end of next year. This is the best country on earth. Of course we have problems because we're human. But the founding fathers gave us a system that is perfect for resolving those problems, right? The 3 co-equal branches of government. It's a little askew right now, but it's going to return to where it should be. It always does.
You think so?
I do. It always has through history. And it will again. But
what has to happen for it to return there?
Congress needs to find what happened to its ball sack.
Did it ever have one?
It vanished once upon a time. I remember Jimmy Carter complaining. I was a kid. I was in high school. Jimmy Carter complaining that he couldn't get anything done because Congress wouldn't do what he told him to do. And the Democrats controlled both houses of Congress. And they were like, we don't work for you. Co-equal branches of government. Well, we've forgotten that. Right. And so the Democrats are in lockstep with Joe Biden. The Republicans are in lockstep with Donald Trump. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Yes, work together. But look at the 80s under the Reagan presidency. The Democrats controlled the House. The Republicans controlled the Senate for the first 4 years or 6 years of either 4 or 6, I can't remember anymore, of the Reagan presidency. But the Speaker of the House was a Massachusetts liberal named Tip O'Neill. And what happened? The president would invite him over for breakfast, and they would sit and hash things out because they were both gentlemen, and that's how you got business done in Washington.
Let's make a deal.
Exactly. Everything is open to negotiation. Everything. So let's negotiate.
And you think we can get back to that?
I do. I think we can get back to that.
Besides, the broad general point, which is appreciated if Congress has to find their balls again.
Yeah. They're all bums.
Yeah, but so how do you flush out the attitudes that have formed on both sides within Congress and Senate at this point where they don't want to do that?
I think that we need to elect more independent thinkers. Listen, I made fun, for example. I made awful fun of Marjorie Taylor Greene when she was first elected. The Jewish space lasers and she's cheating on her husband. Yeah. And I find myself agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene like 80% of the time now.
Wow.
It's nuts. I haven't changed. I see Marjorie Taylor Greene as having matured in her role as a member of Congress. Yeah, like, wait a minute. This isn't how Congress is supposed to work.
What do you like about what she says?
I see her as something of a very out there civil libertarian in the mold of Thomas Massey, let's say. She's not as smart as Thomas Massey, of course, but they take a lot of similar positions. Like Rand Paul is another example. Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side is another one. But I think we need more people like that. There's a guy who's been running in the Democratic primary against Nancy Pelosi for years. I met him in like 2016. I don't remember his name. It's an Indian name, and I just don't recall what it is. The guy's an attorney. He's very smart, very bright guy. He's an activist. We need for him to run against people like Nancy Pelosi. I thank my lucky stars that Nancy Pelosi is not running for re-election. Of course, she's so young at 82, right?
Yeah,
that's the guy. That's the guy. I met him at the San Francisco Film Festival when we stopped and chatted. I had never heard of him before.
How do you say that name? I just butchered that.
Chakrabarty.
Chakrabarty.
Okay. I've got a friend. He's an originally Indian, naturalized American. Bert Thacker. Shout out to Bert Thacker.
Shout out, Bert.
Bert's a 2-time Jeopardy champion. Number one. Number two, he is a former Republican congressional candidate in Southern California, moved to Texas, got himself elected to the city council in the city he went to, and is already planning his congressional campaign. We need to have 435 people like Bert Thacker, because then we would get stuff done in this country. Bert cares almost not at all about party affiliation. He happens to be a Republican,
right?
But he just wants to get stuff solved, get things done.
I think a big difference today that's causing a huge problem, which should be like the biggest benefit ever, is the fact that all of us have a voice behind a keyboard online, and we police each other for thought. And then where does that sound very familiar from?
Dangerous.
Online, that then forces its way towards the ballot box and the people who get elected there who are from that same world and understand it, or if they're not from that world, understand that they have to live in it. So, for example, you're Nancy Pelosi, you can't possibly make a deal with Donald Trump. That won't play well on TikTok. It won't. No, you could. It won't play well on Instagram. It won't play well on Twitter, and you're going to be viewed as a traitor to your people for doing that. Whereas Nancy Pelosi could have tied one off, fucking 25 years ago if Donald Trump were president, and, come up with a deal at a fucking K Street Steakhouse, and shit could have actually happened.
Which is exactly how Washington used to work. Yes, you're exactly right. You knew that if you went to the Oval Room at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night, the entire Senate leadership was going to be there having steaks and trying to figure out what to do about the budget.
Right.
At the Trump Hotel, when there was a Trump Hotel in Washington, I went with friends a couple of times, more than a couple of times, and we joked that, like, my God, is there a single member of the Republican House leadership who's not at the bar right now? Like, literally every single one of them. But that's how you get stuff done.
Yes.
When I was in college, it was quite common for members of Congress to share group houses up on Capitol Hill. You'd pack 6, 7, 8 guys in a house because it's expensive in Washington. You have to maintain a house in your district, right? And your family's probably in the district. You still have to have somewhere to live in Washington. So, and they don't really make any money. Well, they do now.
Great stock pickers.
220. It's like a
Phenomenal.
miracle, like a miracle.
They're incredible at it.
Crystal ball. So, so it wasn't unusual to have, 3 Dems and 3 Republicans in a house, or 4 and 4. They'd play poker on Fridays. They'd go to church together on Sundays. And then, they would argue in committee, but they're all friends. And they knew that at the end of the day, they could negotiate a deal. And that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah, that's where I'm having trouble seeing how that becomes the case again.
Yeah.
Because of how people have just been so, and in this kind of job, I see it all the time. You know, how much people just jump to conclusions on the minute they hear an opinion they don't agree with, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're really not, but they say that.
Oh, I get that all the time. Listen, I'm going to say something that's going to cause me trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. I gave an interview to an Indian news outlet 2 weeks ago, and I didn't say anything that I haven't said 1,000 times. For whatever reason, and this is why, as a matter of policy, listen, I'm serious. No more interviews to any Indian or Pakistani news outlets ever again. Okay.
Got that on the record.
John's policy. Done. Because they just make shit up and put it in a banner headline with 2 exclamation points and say that this CIA officer finally reveals the truth behind, like, no. I told you, my information's 25 years old. Okay, so I said one thing. I said, in a conventional conflict, India would beat Pakistan. Because it has 5 times the people.
Yeah.
The death threats. I've lost count of how many death threats I received. And then the best of all, like my lawyer's like, got to keep a low profile, just be aware of your surroundings. I know, right?
John's like, fuck you.
So I get a letter from the president of Imran Khan's political party, right?
Man.
Whatever it's called, the Pakistan, whatever party.
You got a letter.
A letter in the mail. And he says that they condemn in the strongest possible terms what I said to the Indians, and they demand an immediate apology to His Excellency, the former Prime Minister, to the members of the party, and to the people of Pakistan.
For giving an opinion?
Yeah. So My lawyer's like, just throw it away. Just throw it away. So I didn't throw it away. I sent him an email and I said,
Oh my God.
in regards to your demand for an apology, I wipe my ass with your demands for an apology. And I hit send. And that's how I left it. And I haven't heard back from them. So my lawyer's like, well, that speaking offer at the Pakistani military academy, yeah, you're not going to be doing that. And I said, no, I'll never go back ever again. But they don't treat me with respect anyway.
You could have just said, explain bin Laden.
Yeah,
Start
exactly.
There. I mean, yeah, like it would appear mathematically India would body bag Pakistan. No,
yes,
no,
they would.
Pakistan, no disrespect. It's just,
And you know why they hate each other so much? Because they're exactly alike. That's why.
Really?
It used to be one country, right? India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh was one country called the Indian subcontinent, right? And then in 1947, India and Pakistan had a brutal, bloody war and they split off. So all the Muslims went west to Pakistan and all the Hindus went east to India, but now there are more Muslims than there are, pretty much anybody else, and they have a higher birth rate in India.
Right.
But anyway, and then by 1971, I think it was, Bangladesh is like, screw this. They're part of Pakistan. They were called East Pakistan. And they're like, Pakistan's all the way over there. We disagree with everything, so we're going to be independent too. And they created Bangladesh. Okay, well, India has 5 times more people than Pakistan does. And the Bangladeshis like the Indians, and the Afghans like the Indians and hate the Pakistanis. So if you're Pakistan and you're outmanned and surrounded by your enemies, you going to win that fight?
Yeah, they don't seem to have like a lot of friends.
No.
Right?
No. Because they write threatening letters and expect immediate action.
I love that they wanted a retraction.
Yeah, retraction.
Like, last time I was in your country, I ran the greatest targeting mission in modern history.
That's right.
Don't fuck with me.
That's right. And he wants he neglected to say in the letter that his prime minister is in prison right now.
Oh, he's in prison?
Oh, yeah, he's in
Why
prison.
is he in prison?
Oh, for all kinds of reasons. Treason and
he's still
corruption.
prime minister?
No, they deposed him.
So he's not running it from the prison cell?
No. Well, he's running the party from his prison cell.
Got it.
They got a new prime minister.
It's so awkward.
Yeah, and he wants an apology from me. No, I think you should apologize to all of the people of Pakistan for being a, typical corrupt leader in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
They're all corrupt.
Yeah.
Listen, one time I was with a colleague, a more senior colleague. We went to see Benazir Bhutto. She was in exile in Dubai. And her husband was this guy, Zardari. I think his first name is Hussein, something like that. And so we're at her beachfront mansion, her $10 million beachfront mansion in Dubai. This is a woman who was making, $60,000 a year as prime minister.
Hey, listen, good investor.
Right. So we hear a car pulling up outside, and she said something offhandedly that has just been ingrained in my mind ever since. She says, "So help me God, if he's pulling up in another Bentley, I'm going to lose my mind." And my boss and I kind of look at each other like, corrupt a little bit?
Yeah.
You make $60,000 a year. How many Bentleys do you have with your $10 million beachfront house in Dubai? And then she went back, became prime minister again, got shot in the head. Now he's the president of Pakistan. Her husband, her corrupt husband.
Funny how the world works.
Yeah.
That is the thing. The patterns are the same everywhere in different societies.
Human nature.
It's human nature. You get people that get into powerful positions that have connections to be able to do things that the average person can't, whether it's legal or not. They do it. You're 100%. It is human nature. And like now, in the internet era, we can just see it more right in front of us.
I think you're exactly right about that. Yeah. The information is much more readily available for us. It's just there almost instantaneously.
How much in your career at CIA did you either see directly or get an inkling or a vibe of, say, elite forces that were not a part of CIA playing roles or having say or having some sort of influence over decisions that the agency was making?
I didn't.
Never.
No. It was always the other way around. After 9/11, we were short on special forces guys. You know, we had this thing called the Special Activities Division, and then within the Counterterrorism Center, there was the Special Activities Group. But we needed operators, like not the ones like John that were going to, you know, wine and dine the guy and recruit him. Exactly. And so we just borrowed people from the Special Forces. So all of a sudden, I mean, like in the matter of a week or two after 9/11, we've got SEALs, we have Delta, we have Rangers, we have all these people, and they're not what you might imagine. They're not these buff, you know, he-men that stepped out of a magazine. They had 5 days beard, a little bit of a gut. They could do some heavy drinking and then get up and run 5 miles, which I never understood. But they knew exactly what the mission was. And by God, they were happy to get on a plane, jump out the back of it, and then do the mission and then figure out how to rescue them later.
I've had a couple of those guys sitting here.
Yeah, they're very, very tough guys. Yeah.
They're built a little different.
Yeah, they are. I've never understood how guys like that can negotiate the psychological weight of what comes with their jobs.
It is the fact that you haven't figured that out is not reassuring, because I sit here and wonder the same thing sometimes. The only thing I can come up with is there's just a different gene.
I think that's it. I've got two friends. One was a medic on SEAL Team 2. He's an older guy. He's about 8 years older than I am. So this is when the SEAL teams were first created out of what used to be called the underwater demolition teams. And I've got a buddy who's currently a SEAL. I won't say which team. He's the son-in-law of a very close friend of mine. He does struggle with these issues. My older friend from SEAL Team 2 sleeps like a baby every night. No problem.
I think it's person to person.
I think it is.
Right?
Yeah.
But also they pick certain guys for certain teams or certain missions.
That's right.
Who maybe they've tested under scrutiny and stress. Not to say, by the way, that sometimes once the guys are done their career and come home, they don't bring it home with them.
And they frequently do.
Oh yeah.
They frequently do. And it's a sad thing to see.
It's sad, but when they're in there, there's something about like go.
Mission.
And that's
all about the mission.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, glad they're on my side though.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Yep. Got that right.
So they were just, and I mean, I've talked with guys about this before. It was obviously like a shit show right after 9/11,
sure.
All hands on deck. But basically the way you're explaining it is a lot of these guys, minus just some of the basic like on the ground forces we know from the paramilitary operation that happened right away in Afghanistan. But a lot of these guys were literally like, hey, you're in, you're read in, you're in.
They're done. They just showed up one day. I'm telling you, at the Counterterrorism Center, we more than doubled in size within 2-3 days.
Wow.
And then even after that, all these special forces guys just arrived. Like, okay, where do we go? And then they started doing their thing. And
how soon was it after the towers came down that you were first approached about with the enhanced interrogation?
Oh, it was quite some time. Towers came down on September 11th. Mm-hmm. We started bombing Afghanistan in early October. It was in late October that Mitchell and Jessen were introduced to George Tenet at a cocktail party. They pitched the so-called enhanced interrogation techniques. I think we signed the contract in January, and then we were just waiting to see who's the first guy we're going to catch. We caught Abu Zubaydah in March.
Yeah, I was going to say you were going to Pakistan.
And then I was approached the first week of May of 2002.
Okay. And then you were still in there for a few years afterwards. I mean, obviously that is the core part of your story. We've told that on episode 249 and 250 a bunch before. We don't have to go through all that.
Sure.
But that was a disturbing thing that you saw at CIA.
Yeah.
Are there other things now, years later, that you're willing to talk about that you came across that maybe didn't involve you directly like that, where people were like, hey, we want to actually bring you in on this, that you just found viciously disturbing that they were doing?
No. I've all throughout my CIA career, I worked with people who were doing their jobs to the highest ethical standard. It was because post 9/11, and everybody just kind of went nuts because this was the greatest intelligence failure in the CIA's history, and because it was specific to the Counterterrorism Center. I think that's why there was so much that was sort of revealed to me. But otherwise, no. In fact, one time I was the note taker. I was living in Bahrain at the time, and Ambassador David Ransom, just an absolutely lovely guy, one of the finest human beings I've ever worked for. He was a terrific ambassador and just a really great guy. He would frequently ask me to be the note taker in his meetings with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And the minister liked me, and I liked him. His English was better than mine, crazy as that might sound. But if there was something sensitive that the ambassador needed to raise, he would always mention it to me in the car on the way to the foreign ministry. Like, don't let me forget to say X. And I'd jot down a note. So we went to see the foreign minister one time. And he did forget to say X. And so at the end of the meeting, these meetings would go 2 hours. He turned to me and he said, is there anything else? Is there anything that I'm forgetting? And I said, yes, there's the issue with Ambassador so-and-so. And he said, oh, that's right. And he said to the foreign minister, one of my predecessors here in Bahrain, it's come to my attention, is now working for the Bob Dole campaign. And we understand that he may come out here and ask you for money. It is illegal for a foreign national to contribute money to an American political campaign. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. And the minister says, oh, he's already been here. We gave him $50,000. We didn't realize it was illegal, but he went to see the emir, and the emir gave him $50,000. So we get back in the car, and the ambassador says, listen, that last part, don't put that in the cable. He said, that's a hornet's nest that I don't think either one of us want to be involved in. So I didn't put it in the cable. You break the cable out by issue, like the ambassador's meeting with the foreign minister, Middle East peace, the ambassador's meeting with the foreign minister, the military agreement with the United States, ambassador's meeting with the foreign minister, Iran and the threat from, whatever. He told me not to write that. This was like a month or 2 or 3 before I left to go back to headquarters. And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And I thought, for my own selfish reasons, what happens if I go for my next polygraph and they ask me if I'm aware of a crime that I didn't report? Then it's me. Then I get fired.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.